This is how you can save hundreds of hours per year and thousands of dollars in storage costs by automatically saving your Zoom recordings into your Google Drive folders and sorting them automatically with the help of AI. I'll show you how to do it. By the end of this little simple tutorial, I'll show you how you can get recordings in Zoom with Make, process them with AI using a proprietary assembly AI module that works very, very well, sort that content with Anthropic, and then put them in the right place in your Google Drives and add them to your preferred project management system. And it's actually pretty simple once you know how to do it. Before we get into the more complex build things, it feels complex, but it's not really complex. Let's get into the core parts of what we're actually doing here, and then we can wrap our head around how this translates to Make. So first of all, we get the completed Zoom recording over here in Make. We use a webhook for that. So essentially, once the recording is done, it sends a message to Make and says, hey, the recording is done. Here's the data that you can use. So we take that data and we use it to get a transcript with Assembly AI, my preferred transcription tool. Super fast, super accurate, super cheap. From there, we give the summary that gets created for us automatically by this transcription tool. We give it to Claude and say, hey, based on this summary, I want you to help me understand if it is a sales call or if it is a content creation video that I'm creating, like the one I'm doing right now. And then based on that analysis and the output, we have a filtering system that either saves it as in a unique folder and labels it as a sales call or labels it as a content creation video. And that is it. And then once that's done, it creates an item in my Airtable and lets me know, hey, here are the pieces of content that you've recorded this month. This is how I currently have it set up. So in my Zoom recording folder, in my sales and marketing folder, I have these different uniquely labeled folders with the content in them that has been categorized as content or as sales with their original names over here. So here's an example of what it looks like in my project management system. I use Airtable, but you can link this to anything, Monday, Asana, Notion, you name it. We can pretty much make it work. So we have the name of the original recording. I can, of course, change this if I need to. We have the summary, we have the video content type, and we have the location. And this all gets done automatically without me having to touch a thing. The moment the Zoom recording is completed, this shows up in my Airtable. And it's pretty cool. All right, let's get right into the build. What we're going to do today is I'm going to run you through a completed scenario that has already worked. I can't do it live because I am recording a Zoom recording, and so it would be a very meta experience and probably break the internet. So I'm just going to run through one that has already run, and then we can go back into the actual diagram to show you what the different fields look like. So first of all, here in Zoom, as I said, we have a webhook that gets triggered when a recording is complete. And once that recording is complete, we get some information. We get this payload over here and a bunch of different information that we can use. What's interesting to us are the recording files, right? So per Zoom recording, depending on your settings on the back end, you can have multiple different output options. So sometimes if you're recording, you record the user screen and the gallery screen, or you also get to receive the VTT file, which is the subtitle file, and you get to receive the audio file. So there are many different types of data that we need to be aware of here when we're trying to actually process the data in Make, right? So over here, we'll see we have three options. And these three options are the A file, which is an audio file. We have the timeline JSON file, which is the transcript file. And then we have the MP4 file, which is the video file. And we also need to keep in mind over here that each one of these has a different size. Make has certain limits to the amount of data that we can download and transfer through its program. And this will become pertinent here in the next few steps. But first of all, the best file for us to grab, which to make it as efficient as possible, is the audio file, because we don't need to process video if we're just looking for categorization based on the audio and what's being talked about within the video. So what we need to do is actually get this file over here. This isn't as easy as it seems at first, because when we are working with an array, which is a certain way that the data is being stored or sent with the JSON, we will not get that as an option as a variable over here. So what we need to do is add an iterator over here, and then specifically let it know that we want the first bundle. So over here we have 3 different bundles, 1, 2, 3. So bundle 1, the collection 1 is what we're looking for. And the way that we do that, so let's look here at the output that we're getting with the iterator. So the iterator is saying we want to grab the recording files collection, which is these 3 bundles over here. So we're adding the recording files here for it to go through each one by one because we're iterating, right? Iteration 1, iteration 2, iteration 3 of the different bundles. And this is the output that we're getting. Bundle 1, bundle 2, bundle 3. What we gave it was this array over here with this collection. So it took this array apart and just gave us one bundle at a time. But the way the make works is that if we don't select the specific one that we want, it's going to run all 3 bundles throughout this whole automation. So we needed to stop doing it from doing that, right? We don't need to run all 3 of these bundles. We don't need to run the audio file and the JSON and the MP4 file. Not necessary. So we just need one. How do we do that? We create a filter. And a filter over here is we're saying bundle 1, which is the first bundle, order position. That's one of the variables over here. So bundle order position has to be equal to 1 in order for it to pass. So what you'll see over here, bundle 1 is of course the audio file. Bundle 2 over here is not. And bundle 3 is not. When we look at the filter, it's only going to have us process the very first one, which is exactly what we're looking for. So once we've sorted out what data it actually needs to process, then we can move forward with the automation. Second one is the assembly AI module. Now, I love assembly. It reduces the amount of errors. Sometimes I'm processing very large files, which Whisper cannot do. Also, their pricing is very reasonable, and it comes with a bunch of extra features, which I can get into when we go back to the first diagram. So over here, we just give it the audio URL, which is the download URL over here. And remember, we're processing the audio, not the video. And what that does is lets us get a very simple and basic summary of what the transcription was about. Now, the reason that I'm just using the summary is because the more tokens we use unnecessarily, the more money we're using unnecessarily. So what's super cool with Assembly AI as well is that you get a transcription ID that lets you process that later. So what we could also do here in this case is save the ID of this transcription and then be able to call it automatically whenever we want without having to retranscribe the file. But for our purposes, we're just looking to categorize, right? So we're going to use a summary. And then once we have the summary, now we have a few different options that we can do. We could either go straight into Claude over here and organize the recording. But unfortunately, we also have to download the actual video file from Zoom, and so that it has somewhere to place it, right? So unfortunately we don't have the luxury of just sending a URL from here to here. We have to download it into Make. And of course, these Zoom files can be quite large. I have a way around this that I'll show you when we go back to the diagram, but for now, we have to download the file into Make. And so this takes up a good amount of space. I think it could be 300 megabytes. I'm not sure how the bytes conversion works, but usually for a Zoom recording around 30 minutes, it can take up to 100, 120. Now you do multiple Zoom recordings for your organization, your cap's going to reach very fast. So once we have the download, it's been processed. Now we have a file that we can send to our Google folders. We go through the Claude module over here, and over here we're saying, hey, take a look at this summary. Please categorize the summary as according to this criteria. If it is a sales call, label it sales. If it is a content creation recording, label it as content. Only return the labels and nothing else. Here's a summary. And then we place the summary in here. And what we get is a very simple sales call. Now I'm using Claude Haiku 3.5. It is their fastest model. It is also quite smart if you don't give it too many instructions. So the reason I'm not using the highest quality over here is that we don't need to. It's going to get the job done, and it's going to get it done faster. So 3.5 works. Over here, we have a router, and a router simply says, hey, I want you to process this row of things first and this row of things second. But if we add filters like we did over here, we can specify in which direction we need the data to go. For this run, we're saying that if the text response is sales, then go in this direction. And if the text response is content, then go in this direction. For this example over here, I was talking to Douglas, and Douglas was a sales call, and so it automatically placed it here in, well, first we created the Google folder, so we named it, and then we named it over here and then placed the recording in the back. And then over here, we're actually uploading the file. And so that is where we have the data that we grabbed from the Zoom recording. And then we named it, and then we added it into into my Airtable account over here. So that is how the process works. It feels overwhelming and a bit daunting, but once you start to get a feel and understand how the data needs to flow, it just becomes second nature and it makes sense. So let's head back here to showcase how these are set up. So over here, we have the Zoom recording. Once the record is completed, it gets triggered. We're grabbing the payload of the recording, remember, because we have those 3 bundles that we need to iterate on. This is what the filter looks like. So bundle order position is over here, bundle order position, and then equals to 1. That's the one we're looking for, the first one. And as you can see over here, we cannot select the second bundle. There's nothing here for us to select. It only gives us the first bundle option over here. So we cannot say, actually it gives us the third one. So we need to create this filter to only grab the one piece of content or data that we need. From there, we go into Assembly AI. We place the download URL over here, and we have a lot of different options. We won't get into them today, but we're clicking Enable Summarization all the way at the bottom. Click Yes, and that comes with the output then. So we get the summary. Over here is where we're downloading the actual Zoom recording. So we're going to the iterator to grab the download URL, and we have the download token over there to make sure no one can steal our files. Over here is how we set up the Claude module. So please categorize the summary according to the criteria. We include the summary. We then get the output, and it runs it through the filters as according. So condition, if the text response contains sales, then run the sales. If it contains content, then run the content, and then we have it saved over there. How we can get around this tricky situation of capping the amount of data transfer that we have is a very handy tool called the No Code Architects Toolkit. And this allows us to essentially bypass, once it's been set up in a Google Cloud run, the ability to grab the URL and send it directly to Google Drive. But that goes beyond the scope. If you're interested in doing that, let me know, and we can talk about how to set that up. It's a bit more of a technical process. And the reason that I have these other project management tools over here, modules, is to just show you that we could do this in Notion, we could do this on Monday, we can do this in Asana. All of this is data that can get sent to wherever we need it to be sent, right? We can even send it to Slack if we wanted to send it to Slack. So this isn't just a workflow that works with Airtable or just with Claude. We can make this work with a variety of different tools. It just depends on what you're working with and how it could benefit you within your workflow. If you like this explanation and this brief but rather in-depth tutorial, let me know. I'd love to make more of them for you. I have a free live workshop happening every second Thursday. You can check it out in my bio on my LinkedIn. I would love to see you there, and we'll work through how to build a LinkedIn post with your unique voice that automatically creates the hooks, the post type, and the first comment. And of course, you'll have the blueprint and you can do with it whatever you'd like to. So I hope to see you there.